this is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed human.
Get ready for the wildest sight your lawn has ever seen. Sunday, Sunday, Sunday. This spring, unleash soil science like never before. Witness your custom lawn plan and the transformation to a soft green paradise.
Sorry, just trying to get your attention. Sunday is a boringly simple way to get a green, healthy yard. No harsh stuff, no big trucks, no chaos. Order today and get your custom Sunday yard plan for the season ahead. Sunday, smarter lawn care for less. GetSunday.com.
Support for the show comes from Public, the investing platform for those who take it seriously. On Public, you can build a multi-asset portfolio of stocks, bonds, options, crypto, and now generated assets, which allow you to turn any idea into an investable index with AI. It all starts with your prompt. From renewable energy companies with high free cash flow to semiconductor suppliers growing revenue over 20% year over year, you can literally type any prompt and put the AI to work. It screens thousands of stocks, builds a one-of-a-kind index, and lets you backtest it against the S&P 500. Then you can invest in a few clicks. Generated assets are like ETFs with infinite possibilities, completely customizable and based on your thesis, not someone else's. Go to public.com/podcast and earn an uncapped 1% bonus when you transfer your portfolio. That's public.com/podcast. Paid for by Public Investing. Brokerage services by Open to the Public Investing Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services by Public Advisors LLC, SEC registered advisor. Generated assets is an interactive analysis tool. Output is for informational purposes only and is not an investment recommendation or advice. Complete disclosures available at public.com/disclosures.
So what does Mamdani, it's not that easy to say. Mamdani, oh gosh, is a tongue twister. Not easy to say. What does he have in store for the city of New York, where, as you know, I still have family that lives there. And so I am very sympathetic to all of you, especially our WOR listeners who are in the greater New York area and have to deal with the consequences of some of the worst governance in the entire country, some of the highest taxes, the greatest dysfunction, and there's no sign of any of it getting any better. And this is something that, as a more general rule, and this is applicable to dealing with Democrats anywhere. So whether you live in Manhattan or Montana, this is something to keep in mind. Democrats do not learn the lessons that you, as a rational person, learn from decisions, from policy. They don't come away from, oh, this was a massive failure. This was a giant boondoggle. This was huge waste, fraud, and abuse. People suffered because of this, maybe we should do something different. Their mindset is always, we needed to do more of it. The reason we didn't get the outcome that we wanted, the reason we didn't get to the utopian place, the place of perfection, the place of, oh, everybody has all the money they need and everybody is totally equal and there's no one who feels left out and there's no resentment and there's no envy. And that doesn't sound like reality, does it? But that's what they're going for. It's why they're commies. This is the vision of the future that they think they can construct for all of the rest of us, if only they have enough power. And that's the key. The problem is never the idea is bad. The problem is they had insufficient authority over you, another way of saying power, insufficient authority to achieve the end state. And one version of this, or one variant of this, is they did not have enough of your money to get done what needed to be done. And a corollary of this is they have never taken enough of your money. It's never enough, because there could always be more brilliant, humanitarian, equitable things that they could do with your cash that you, of course, won't do because you're a fat cat. You're one of the elite. And many of you are saying, Buck, I make 50, 60, 70 grand a year. What are you talking about? Yeah, but you're not looking for handouts. You're not down with this Democrat welfareism and everything else. So you're a problem, and you are a cow to be milked like all of the rest of us. You're not some illegal who showed up here who's getting on benefits as fast as they can, defrauding the taxpayer and not contributing. No. You want autonomy. You want to contribute. You want to do things. And does the government ever thank you? Now, let's speak to New Yorkers for a second. Does the state of New York thank you for your high taxes? Do you feel thanked? If anything, I think they are outraged every time they take money from you. And I went through this myself, so I speak of that which I know. They feel like you should thank them because they didn't turn you upside down and fully empty out your pockets. You are supposed to have a form of economic Stockholm syndrome in New York. You are to thank your economic captors for leaving you with some of the crumbs from the cake that you baked. And once you understand that mentality, once you have a full grasp and understanding of the mindset of the people who are pushing this stuff, who are demanding this stuff, then you're never surprised. Then it all lines up and you can see it coming a mile away. And with that, I give you Kami Mamdani talking about a new luxury tax on properties. Play cut 6.
When I ran for mayor, I said I was going to tax the rich. Well, today, we're taxing the rich. I'm thrilled to announce we've secured a pied-à-terre tax, the first in New York's history. This is an annual fee on luxury properties worth more than $5 million, whose owners do not live full-time in the city. Like for this penthouse, which hedge fund CEO Ken Griffin bought for $238 million. This pied-à-terre tax is specifically designed for the richest of the rich, those who store their wealth in New York City real estate, but who don't actually live here. Most of the time, these units are sitting empty, since, again, they don't actually live here. This is a fundamentally unfair system that hurts working New Yorkers. Now, it's coming to an end. I believe everyone has a role to play in contributing to our city, and some a little bit more than others.
This is moronic. He does not understand. He does not get why this is a bad idea. I truly believe that because he governs and he became the mayor of New York off of feel-goodism for people who are ignorant, unaccountable, and don't want to face reality. They want to create some perception. They want this utopia future that they'll never achieve. But like I said, their inability to achieve, and this is what's so important, wherever you are, Oregon, Georgia, Arizona, Maine, anywhere and everywhere in between, when Democrats fail, it's your fault. It's your fault. Don't you see? You didn't give them enough money. You didn't give them enough power. You are the weak link in the chain, they say. They don't ever want to sit there and look at their idiotic ideas and the history of failure of those ideas. We've got Mamdani saying he's going to open a government-funded grocery store that's going to cost $30 million and take 3 years to build? Does anyone hear this? I mean, you don't know if you should laugh or cry. That's crazy. But it's all about the idea. It's all about pushing this forward. It's saying, see, I am soaking the rich. And this is the other part of it as well. The politics of envy are not about math. You just had tax day yesterday. You just had to deal with this. Many of you, I had to write a big check. IRS just sucking money out of my bank account. The politics of envy are not about math, meaning they will do these things. And this was true of Obama. It's true of Biden. This is the Democrats really understanding how they view this stuff. They would rather try to soak the rich. It's very hard to do so, which we'll talk about in a second, but they would rather target the rich and have less revenue over time than promote pro-growth policies and have more revenue, because if that more revenue means people doing well continue to do well and even do better, that's unacceptable. It is about tearing them down. It is about blaming them. It's the emotional appeal of this to people in New York. Otherwise, you'd sit there and say, hey, why is housing so expensive? Gee, I don't know. Maybe because of insane regulations the city of New York has. Maybe because the unions drive up the costs of all construction in ways that are just incomprehensible. Maybe it's because the tax climate is such that developers are having to make all kinds of concessions and deals just to get things done, to build more. It's a mess. And the people telling you, in this case, Mamdani, but this is true in L.A., this is true in New York City, this is true all over the country, in any urban center, really. The people telling you it's because the rich don't pay enough, they've created the environment that makes it all so expensive. The people like Mamdani, with his silver-tongued nonsense, they promise you that they will address these problems and hope you don't notice they are the cause of the problem. And this is where all this blame shifting and understanding the mentality of these people is so powerful and is so important. Because otherwise you would say, okay, let's get to this pied-à-terre tax for a second here. Does he think it's very specifically targeted, he says, at homes over $5 million people don't live in? Does he think that there's going to be some downstream effect of this? Has he considered that people, first of all, if you buy a very expensive, obviously a very expensive home, if you buy it, in New York City, there's $5 million homes everywhere, as you know. I mean, that's like in Manhattan, that's a nice 2 or 3 bedroom apartment. Standard 3 bedroom apartment, $5 million. In Manhattan, that's not there are other states where a $5 million home, if you're in Nebraska, a $5 million home is going to have like a bowling alley. It's going to have a private pond you can water ski on. I mean, you're talking about really probably 12 to 16,000 square feet, right? In New York City, it's a 3 bedroom apartment. That's how expensive it's gotten there now. But he's saying this is going to help people. Some of the best residents you can have are people who don't use any of your services at all, aren't there that much, and are already paying taxes, have already put a lot of money into the economy, right? So this might have the effect of people buying fewer of these $5 million homes. This might have the effect of people saying, fine, I'll try to sell it. But then also your other buyers recognize that they're going to be targets for this too. And so they start putting their money in other places. I got to tell you, a $5 million house down here in South Florida, it's a nice house. It's not a crazy nice house. Won't get you on the water in most places. That's how tight the market has gotten here now. And I mean South Florida pretty broadly, right? I'm just talking about Miami and Naples and some of the fanciest places. Palm Beach, you can't even get, $5 million gets you like a glorified outhouse somewhere. It's crazy. So it's gotten so expensive. The money's going to move elsewhere. And you might say, well, why do we care and everything else? Well, because the very decision making of someone like a Mamdani is going to make all this stuff worse. This is what I think you have to remember. It's not that they're offering trade-offs. It's that they're doing things that exacerbate the thing that they claim they are fixing, right? It'd be one thing if they said, hey, we're going to increase, we're going to have way more doctors to increase the supply of doctors in New York City, but we're going to have to raise some taxes for that. I'm just coming up with something on the fly here. You could say, well, look, you're going to have to raise taxes a lot, and this program, is it even going to, but you would at least theoretically have more doctors, so maybe that's a good thing. For Mamdani, capping rent, putting these wealth taxes, and that's exactly what this is, putting these things in place, will make the affordability crisis worse, will make the long-term fiscal projections of New York City worse. And this is, again, that key. And he knows it, and he doesn't care, and he still wants to do it. It is about punishing your perceived class enemies. It is about every person who lives in New York who is frustrated about costs, who is frustrated about their economic situation. Instead of being angry at the bureaucracy and the high taxes there, which is a very reasonable position, thinking, yeah, if only Ken Griffin paid more in taxes, I could afford to send my kids to that, Catholic school or that religious school in my neighborhood. It's Ken Griffin's fault. It's not Ken Griffin's fault. This is idiotic. In fact, he's a job creator who's bought a lot of properties and moving a lot of cash around and creating a lot of actual wealth. But at the same time, you can see now why it never gets better with these people. You can see why after de Blasio to Adams, Adams was We should appreciate him, I guess, more than we did at some level. Because while he was incompetent, he wasn't nefarious. He wasn't intentionally ruining New York City. He just wasn't a very good mayor. We are now back to, for ideological reasons, Mamdani intentionally ruining New York. He thinks he's saving it, of course, but I can assure you this is only going to one place, and it will be a bad place. So remember that, friends. In this 25th anniversary year of September 11th, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation continues to honor America's heroes. Through that commitment, the foundation created veterans villages that stand as a beacon of hope for those who have sacrificed everything for our nation. These communities are committed to helping veterans achieve stability and independence by providing safe housing and personalized services tailored to their needs. Within each village, residents find support, dignity, and a sense of belonging, among others who truly understand the meaning of service and sacrifice. With multiple veteran villages completed and more in development across the country, Tunnel to Towers and its supporters believe no veteran should ever be left behind. Through the Homeless Veteran Program, Veterans Villages, and the National Case Management Network, the foundation has provided housing and supportive services to more than 17,000 veterans nationwide. Donate $11 monthly and amplify your impact with a car or land donation. Online, you'll find them at t2t.org. That's T2T.org.
Looking for normal in a world of crazy? Clay and Buck have your back.
Get ready for the wildest sight your lawn has ever seen. Sunday, Sunday, Sunday. This spring, unleash soil science like never before. Witness your custom lawn plan and the transformation to a soft green paradise.
Sorry, just trying to get your attention. Sunday is a boringly simple way to get a green, healthy yard. No harsh stuff, no big trucks, no chaos. Order today and get your custom Sunday yard plan for the season ahead. Sunday, smarter lawn care for less. GetSunday.com.
Support for the show comes from Public, the investing platform for those who take it seriously. On Public, you can build a multi-asset portfolio of stocks, bonds, options, crypto, and now generated assets, which allow you to turn any idea into an investable index with AI. It all starts with your prompt. From renewable energy companies with high free cash flow to semiconductor suppliers growing revenue over 20% year over year, you can literally type any prompt and put the AI to work. It screens thousands of stocks, builds a one-of-a-kind index, and lets you backtest it against the S&P 500. Then you can invest in a few clicks. Generated assets are like ETFs with infinite possibilities, completely customizable and based on your thesis, not someone else's. Go to public.com/podcast and earn an uncapped 1% bonus when you transfer your portfolio. That's public.com/podcast. Paid for by Public Investing. Brokerage services by Open to the Public Investing Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services by Public Advisors LLC, SEC registered advisor. Generated assets is an interactive analysis tool. Output is for informational purposes only and is not an investment recommendation or advice. Complete disclosures available at public.com/disclosures.
All right, second hour of Clay and Buck kicks off right now. Our buddy Ryan Gerdusky joins us. It's a Numbers Game is his podcast, and it has numbers rocketing up the charts, my friends. The more you guys want to listen, or rather, the more you listen, the more you love it, because you learn political insights. You learn things that people don't know out there, because we brought in Ryan to be our guy who looks at the data, separates the signal from the noise. It's a Numbers Game is that podcast on the Clay and Buck Network. You definitely want to check that out. Mr. Gerdusky, always a pleasure to have you on, sir. Thanks for making the time.
Thank you for having me on.
Let's dive into this if you would for me, Ryan. What happens now as you see it in the California governor's race with the Swalwell? First off, would you agree that the demolition of Swalwell was the fastest, most effective crushing of a political future we've ever seen in the shortest period of time? Maybe there's somebody else who comes to mind. Let me know. And then what happens now among those Democrat candidates? We got these Republicans like Steve Hilton, who we had on, because I think a lot of eyes, because of the, Swalwell in a sense has gotten even more attention on the governor's race, because that's obviously a big part of why he was on the radar in the first place. So walk us through this. What happens in your mind?
Well, so Swalwell's demise was extremely fast. I mean, even Anthony Weiner was able to hold on for longer periods of time. And I thought, honestly, Swalwell was going to stay in the governor's race no matter what. I guess losing all of his supporters was too much for his ego to handle. And it was the biggest whisper in Washington, D.C. Everyone had heard stories about Swalwell for a very long time, so it's not surprising. Swalwell's support has been splintered now among a lot of different candidates. Becerra is now gaining a lot of support. There's another candidate who's the San Jose mayor who's gained a little bit of his support. And obviously Tom Steyer, who's spending a gajillion dollars to become the governor, has got a lot of support. Here's the problem for Republicans face right now. Republicans in the latest Emerson poll are the first and second leading candidate. If whoever comes to the top two goes on to the general election, that means they will lock out the Democrats out of the governorship, and one of the Republicans will become governor. The problem is of the undecided voters who are left, the smallest pool of undecided voters are Republicans. Republicans, 90% know who they're voting for. There's only 10% left versus about a quarter of Democrats and a quarter of independents. For a Republican to kind of milk out whatever juice they can, they really need to slice into about a third of the independent vote that's left. That's going to be kind of difficult. In the last two governor's races, Republicans got around 41% of the vote in California. There's maybe 8 points left, to be generous, left for the two leading Republican candidates. The rest are going to go to Democrats. If it's divided equally, which probably is not going to happen, then they can lock out the Democrat. Aside from that, I see probably either a Steyer or, maybe a Becerra coming in second place. We'll see, though.
So you're pretty, look, we would love it if our friend Steve Hilton could pull this off, but it sounds like it's a really overwhelming favorite that it will be a Democrat, even with and maybe it makes it easy. Do you buy, by the way, that the Swalwell push out, demolition, whatever you want to call it, was because at some level he made things such a mess for the Democrats by the numbers, or was the timing more coincidental? The women just were sick of seeing his face on TV and the media realized he's not a protected one anymore.
I think that no one took him seriously until he was leading in all the polls and all the unions were rallying around him. And I think a number of women were like, wow, he really can't be governor. I don't think that anyone took him as seriously as that he was going to be the next governor until the polls shot up in his favor. Now, his name will appear on the ballot. They can't take that off. So there'll be some vote that will go with Swalwell just because his name will be in the print. I don't think it was like this inside coordinated effect, because if that was true, they would have done it before his name was printed on the ballot to get, to stop anyone from kind of voting for him by accident even. So I don't believe it was an inside job. I think the women were coming forward. I know people who have come forward on different occasions for different things, and it's less politically planned than likely. Hilton is the most likely to make it to a general election. The question is, does Bianco maybe get 3 or 4 more points in the primary to join him in that general election? I really think that that's really the big question, and where that number goes. So, I mean, it has to really be perfect for the Republicans to lock out the Democrats.
Now, talk to me about how Trump is doing, and obviously that will affect Republicans' fortunes tremendously in the midterms, or I would think they would, with this Iran situation continuing to now. It's ongoing. We're not blowing up stuff. We say we might blow up more stuff. We've got this blockade in place in the Strait. It does look like Iran is somewhat cornered right now on this. Yeah, I know CNN and others want to tell everybody that Trump is bleeding support and it's a disaster and everything else. But is that the case? Are we really seeing that? Or if things stay pretty status quo on this, and oil prices don't, go to $120 a barrel or something, is this, not going to matter all that much in the fall? How do you see that?
Well, Trump's numbers have fallen. But the good thing for Republicans is they've kind of plateaued around in the mid to high 30s. Not where you want to be, not for the midterm elections for sure, but we haven't seen another drop. Like, it wasn't like the Bush years where all of a sudden he went to the high 20s. They've kind of stayed between the mid and the high 30s. A lot of the coalition around Trump that's fallen apart are people who make less than $50,000 a year, young people, and Latinos. And there's a lot of crossover among those three groups. Really have bled support. The one good thing is that among older people, there hasn't been as much bleeding. What I think right now Republicans should really be doing is talking about who's getting cash rebates in their taxes because of the new tax law, especially workers who get those tax on tips. Very popular, and some people have told me that it's like a life-changing amount of money that they've gotten back. So I would be campaigning right now on the economy and talking talking about the economy really hinges on everything. People don't like the foreign policy, not because they think that Iran's going to win or not because they're rooting for Iran, because they feel like it's a distraction from the economy. It really all goes back to how is the economy doing? And they look at the job numbers not being terrific overall. Last month was pretty good, though. They look at the wage growth, they look at the inflation, and they say, where is what you promised? It's all really going down to the economy. And if you can kind of make this miracle of the economy come back from the first term.
And now you have an announcement for this audience that I wanted to give you the opportunity to tell everybody about, because it certainly ties into a critical issue of the moment. What have you got cooking? Ryan?
So I launched a new PAC, a new super PAC called Homeland PAC. You can go to homelandpac.com. And basically what I'm doing now, after decades of Republicans promising strong borders and immigration enforcement, they have broken their promises time and time again. And we've seen now with Maria Salazar, the latest bill to bring amnesty to illegal aliens. And so this PAC was created to, one, defend Republicans who are really good on immigration, and two, to defeat Republicans in primaries who are really bad. There are millions of dollars swirling around from special interest groups, from big corporations, to promote amnesty, to promote cheap labor. I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to do it with, hopefully some big donors will come my way, but also from grassroots donors, the way I did with the 1776 Project PAC, I want to do with Homeland PAC, and make sure we defeat these, Republicans who are supporting amnesty. We can't afford an amnesty, not even Salazar's quote unquote skinny amnesty. It will all come down to citizenship on a massive level. And we will be in a situation like we are in California. We can't afford any more amnesty. So homelandpac.com will go out. It's specifically only about immigration, defending Republicans who are good in immigration and beating them who are bad on immigration.
Speaking about immigration, and you mentioned Tom Steyer before, who I like to tell everybody, Tom Steyer is an inspiration because it's a reminder to all Americans that you too can become a billionaire even if you have no wisdom, no personality, and no redeeming quality in your politics whatsoever. So there's that. He's a climate change wackadoo, which is easy when you're flying around on private jets and everything else. But his immigration policy, as it would be for the governor of California, if he were to become that, I read this and I thought to myself, is this too crazy even for California? Or how does the Democrat Party message this? I mean, it was, do you know what I'm talking about? He's put out this new immigration blueprint for California, which obviously it's a federal issue. And I look at this, I'm saying this guy, Tom Steyer, is nuts. Like, no lessons have been learned by Democrats at all on immigration. It feels like they just want to double down on all the failures of the past.
And the biggest irony is Tom Steyer's financial portfolio, is a lot on immigration because he works with the private prisons who apprehend and deport illegal immigrants. So everything about him is utterly fraudulent. Yeah, he makes a lot of money because of deporting illegal aliens.
Can I pause you for just to give you some of the things? So for his gubernatorial campaign, we have abolish ICE, put ICE in jail, end all cooperation with federal law enforcement, a legal defense fund, which I think is taxpayer funded, sent out to make sure that deportations are effectively impossible. So like California's going to have its own defense fund, and legalizing, like reinstating DACA and DAPA. Like the guy's the governor, not the president, but he's as far left on immigration as I think anybody in the Democrat Party is right now.
Yeah, well, he's trying to put out a flank. He can't do any of those things. I guess he can create a public fund in California. Aside from that, he can't do a single solitary one of these promises. And I think his investment portfolio, according to Fox News, was $250 million he's made off of the detention of illegal immigrants. So he has a financial incentive not even to do any of these things. He's become wealthier than almost every, the 99.9% of Americans because they're deporting illegal aliens. Yeah, he's trying to corner to make sure no one can get further left from him on an issue that galvanizes not just a group of Hispanics in the ethnic lobby, but also angry white liberals who have made hating ICE equal to hating the president. And that's really what he's trying to signal to is I will be your ultimate advocate. And I'm going to do the most radical things against the federal government. I mean, he might as well be saying, he's going to do what they did in Ruby Ridge with attacking federal agents. It doesn't work out in your favor. You have no ability to do any of those things, but it's not about having a coherent message of what you can do. It's all about just trying to fight Trump.
What's next for It's a Numbers Game? You've already got something in the docket, or are you still figuring out what numbers you want to crunch?
a deep dive on the Virginia election. Why is Abigail Spanberger's numbers crashing? Who is leaving her coalition? Remember, Virginia has local state legislative elections in 2027, and the Democrats have a 1-seat majority in the state Senate. So, can there be a referendum on Abigail Spanberger? How is it looking for the referendum? Why is it so close? Where can this happen? And it's going to be a great episode. So I'm looking forward to that coming out.
Just real quick on that. Is it something? Has it become clear to enough voters in Virginia, you think, that Spanberger ran as like, hey, I'm just like a mom and a moderate. And then as soon as she was in power, it was like, I am a Marxist lunatic who wants to take your guns and raise your taxes.
Well, the interesting thing is Spanberger is losing support from both low-income voters and high-income voters. And we're seeing with the referendum on redistricting a 41-point flip away from Spanberger. She won independence by 17 points. Right now, the referendum is losing on independence by 24 points. A tremendous 41-point shift among that group in just 6 months. I think her presidential ambitions are really coming to a close very, very quickly in this administration.
Ryan Gerdusky, everybody. It's a Numbers Game is the podcast. And what's the PAC again, Ryan?
HomelandPAC.com. Check it out.
All right. Thanks so much. Not long ago, I took time to visit with one of our newest sponsors, Supershore, and wow, was I impressed. Supershore makes sense of all the insurance policies that business owners must maintain to be compliant and operate their business. One of the biggest complaints entrepreneurs have are the multiple policies, applications, and brokers with no clear view of how it all fits together. And when questions come up, it's so hard to get the clarity you need. Supershore changes that. One broker for all your business insurance, backed by a team that works with you year-round, not just at renewal. And if you've ever stared at a policy wondering what it covers, Supershore has a fine print facts tool that translates the legal jargon into plain English so you know what's covered and what's not. Go online to supershore.com and get a full report on your current policies with no obligation. Find out if you're overinsured, underinsured, or somewhere in between. Go to supershore.com, one powerful platform, all your policies in one place. Go to supershore.com. That's supershore.com. Paid for by Supershore Insurance Agency, LLC, a licensed insurance agency.
It's like having your house at the perfect temperature all the time. Preset Clay and Buck on the iHeart app.
Welcome back in here to Clay and Buck. We were just talking a few minutes ago about my friend Ryan Gerdusky of our podcast network and his PAC that is going to try to primary. People always ask, how can you do anything about these Republicans betraying us and all this? Well, you can primary them. You can primary Republicans who don't keep their word. That's a very good place to start. In fact, one of the worst things that I think the GOP party faithful do, in politically speaking, is just get lazy and just vote for this incumbent not year after year, but election after election, and then they complain. And then they see them on Fox News and they go, oh, I'll still vote for that guy because he's on Fox News sometimes. I go, well, but just because he says the right things on Fox, maybe gets decent ratings when he does, or she does, depends, doesn't mean that this is the person you want representing your state or your district in the United States Congress, right? I mean, we can understand the difference in that, I would think. But sure enough, GOP primary voters can be quite a bit on the lazy side about this stuff. But I bring you this on the immigration front. This is Bill Malugin from Fox News reporting 6 House Republicans have voted with Democrats to advance, and this was yesterday, to advance Representative Ayanna Pressley, her temporary protected status for Haitians extension for 3 more years. The motion passed 219 to 209. It will go down to a final House vote. Guys, check on this when the final House vote is, because this was from yesterday. This is today, I assume, at some point. The 6 House GOP members to vote with Democrats were Representative Don Bacon of Nebraska. This is every radio host nightmare when they only have the state with the initials, and it's like a little bit of it's like a high school, or not even high school, a grade school social studies test. Can I get all the Florida I can get right? FL. Representative Maria Salazar, Florida. Carlos Jimenez, Florida. Brian Fitzpatrick, Pennsylvania. Mike Lawler, New York. Nicole Malliotakis, New York. I'm a little surprised to see Representative Malliotakis on there. Huh. Interesting. Okay. Anyway, there's also a Kevin Kiley, who's a California independent, but caucuses with Republicans. He voted for Democrats. Let's talk about this issue for a second, and then we can talk about more of keeping order on our side on the immigration issue and not letting this stuff slip away and not letting betrayals happen that will go politically unpunished. The idea that Haitians should get their protected status continued is, on its face, absurd. You'll notice that the statute or the statutory authority here is temporary protected status. Temporary protected status, as in it does not last forever. And yet, temporary protected status Haitians have been here in this country since, you want to guess? Say it out loud if you want. January 2010. January, 350,000 people, 350,000 Haitians have had their temporary protected status extended over 16 years. I think we're going to have to change this. We can't call it TPS or temporary protected status because it is clearly not being treated as temporary. DHS announced a termination of this for August 3rd of 2025, but a court stayed that termination. So the courts won't let us end it. Obviously, some activist judge. The Democrats and even some Republicans want to extend it. Why? This is not supposed to be a backdoor immigration policy, but that's exactly what it has been treated as. As in, we call it temporary, but then they stay forever. Same kind of game they play with asylum. Oh, they're just applying for asylum. If they don't get it, they'll leave. They know that's not true. When they don't get asylum, they just disappear into the American interior. They don't show up at their hearings. It is a backdoor, illegal way to get permanent status in America. People say, oh, it's legal when they apply for asylum. Not when they don't show up for hearings, which a huge percentage of them don't. But how can we have a country when when half of the voters, roughly, maybe it's less than half, call it 45%, but certainly one of the two major political parties and a slew of NGOs, including taxpayer, enabled, if not funded NGOs, a slew of left-wing activist groups, and they all want, and of course the judges, a lot of left-wing judges, they want to make it impossible to enforce immigration law. You can go back to Plato's The Republic on this. Is a law that is not enforced really a law? At what point does it cease to be a law? I think we've seen this now tested many times over on immigration, and this extension of temporary protected status. No, the American people were very nice to allow 350,000 Haitians to stay here for 16 years. Haiti has been an independent country. I believe it's the second oldest democracy in the Western Hemisphere. Haiti has been an independent country for a long time, and they got to fix their own problems. So the extension of this, clearly some of these Republicans, I would think, must have some Haitian diaspora community or TPS diaspora community in their district. And so this is pure politics for them. I would guess that's certainly the case for some of the, like the New York representative that I mentioned. But now this brings me to something else. We've had on the show, and I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt on this one, but we have had on the show and enjoyed talking to him, former Senator, now DHS Secretary Mark Wayne Mullen, who has seemed like a good guy. I do not agree with some of his commentary about Rand Paul's attack, just to be clear. I think that some of that was just over the line nasty. Now, he has the First Amendment. He's allowed to say it, but I think it was kind of jerk stuff to say. But put that aside for a second. Mark Wayne, I think, aligns with this show on a vast majority of issues, and that is what is most important to me for a DHS secretary, that and competency. I think Kristi Noem had alignment because she just does whatever. She was trying to do whatever Trump told her to do, which is fine. Did not have competency, and of course had a lot of vulnerabilities, shall we say, politically and otherwise, that came to the forefront. So I'm just going to say that DHS Secretary Mark Wayne Mullen went on Fox News, and he said this, and I want to push a little bit on this. Play 11.
They take advantage of the United States generosity, but the problem is that we want immigration. We want legal immigration, people that want to make the country stronger. We're a nation of immigrants. We understand that.
The right kind of immigrants.
But the right kind.
I don't like the we're a nation of immigrants thing. It's really not true. We're a nation of Americans, actually. I mean, there are immigrants here who have joined the American family over time, but this idea that, because here's what this, if we're a nation of immigrants, do we become something else if we don't keep bringing in immigrants? I think we've had too much immigration in recent decades. I think the numbers bear that out quite clearly, and I think that it puts major strain on the forces, the societal, political, economic, and historic forces that tie us together in what the ancient Greeks would have called a polity, right? A political, an ideological union, some sense of a cohesive thing that is America and that binds together the American people. And we know that in Europe, they've been forced to really think about this. You know, if you have some country like Sweden with 10 million Swedes, well, if you put 5 million Iraqis, which they didn't have that many, but if you put 5 million Iraqis in a country with 10 million Swedes, it's a different country. The place changes, right? So that people have had to see play out in real time. They can understand that. We've had far too much illegal immigration. We've probably had far too much legal immigration. Oh, no, I believe we have. People can disagree on that. But on the illegal side, and I think they'd be wrong for disagreeing, but that's okay. On the illegal side, there's no question that we have been inundated. We have been swamped with illegal crossings, and overstays, and other evasions of our immigration laws in this country. So we want legal immigration. Yes, as a general matter, we want legal immigration. The Secretary of DHS is correct in that. Should we have a conversation about having less legal immigration at this point in America? Yes. We really should get to this is just people who are contributing and making America better, more prosperous, safer, smarter, all of those things. And we better be really sure that that's what we're getting. And that means a slower and more vetted process. It means a lot less chain migration. I was just hearing from somebody the other day, in my country, my parents, or one of my parents won a green card lottery thing. And now the whole family of 8 people is being sponsored to come here. So just understand when they say, there's a green card lottery with, I don't know what the number is, in the tens of thousands of people. Well, but there's this whole effort then to bring the whole family too. And that's often the case with people, whether they're here for a whole range of different temporary lawful reasons. H-1B visas is another example of this. Why will H-1B visa holders take less pay than people doing the same work? Because they will, and we know that. Why are they more malleable to the wishes of management? Hence why they are preferable for some unscrupulous American businesses in hiring. Well, it is because their status is tied to that visa, which means it's harder for them to move around. People will say, oh, no, they can't. No, it is harder. But also, they can get to the front of the green card line. And then if they get that, then they can start to try to sponsor more of their family to come in, which is a huge benefit. So, yeah, getting paid 15 or 20% under market to do clerical work for a few years, that feels a whole lot more attractive to somebody from a third world country if they think they can stay forever and then bring their whole family in here. This is why the immigration issue is, I think, the most important issue in the country right now. It should be the most important issue to voters. And the Trump administration has done some very good things on this, but the job is unfinished, to be sure, not even close to finished. So the DHS secretary, we're a nation of immigrants. That is really a non-truth. It's not untrue, but it is a non-truth, or it is an incomplete truth to say about this country. And it plays right into the rhetoric of Democrats. They're the ones that have been saying this for so long. We're a nation of immigrants. No, really, we're a nation of founders, of pioneers, of builders, of people who came here without the promise of endless welfare benefits, without a DEI infrastructure ready to claim victimhood for them at the hands of America, even though they came to America because they have a skin color that falls into the protected classes of DEI here. It's a very different thing to show up in America today than it was to show up in 1920 or 1820 or 1720 for that matter. It's a very different thing that people face. And treating it as similar, treating a voyage on a wooden ship that ends up with people landing at Plymouth Rock, where they face death the entire voyage from disease, from shipwreck, from any number of things, as similar to I scraped together $200 to get on a cheap international flight, and now I'm in America. There's an insult to our intelligence that occurs with that. So we should not be going around saying we're a nation of immigrants. We're a nation that allows some immigrants and has had waves of immigration, but historically has also had stops in the immigration waves to allow Americans to be America, or rather America to be of Americans. That is a thing that happens in our history as well. So I want clarity on that one. I think Mark Wayne is aligned. I think he's going to do a good job, but we shouldn't be going around on TV as Republicans in this moment, I think, saying we're a nation of immigrants. Might as well say, oh, illegals do the jobs Americans won't do. Another thing that they love to say. Or immigrants have a lower crime rate than Americans. Another thing they like to say. All right. Not long ago, my friends, not long ago at all, I was introduced to preborn clinics, and they are amazing. The work they are doing day in and day out to save tiny babies in the womb is just blessed. It's incredible. And when you've had the experience that I've had of going into a preborn clinic and talking to some of the moms who have been helped by preborn, and then meet the little baby, in this case now a little girl, running around the office, happy, laughing, smiling. Without preborn, she probably wouldn't be here today. And her mom would be living with regret and the pain of having made the wrong decision. Preborn helps women, provides them with compassion and real support when they go in, when they're pregnant and they're in a crisis pregnancy. What do I do? What I'm getting all this pressure. It's the same story that so many of these women face. But preborn welcomes them in with open arms and says, hey, let's start with an ultrasound so you really know that there's a precious, beautiful life growing inside your womb. And this is how preborn is hoping to save 10,000 babies this month. They are really trying to get those numbers up to save as many babies as possible, but they need your help. So if you would, just please consider saying yes to a gift of $28. That's the cost of an ultrasound. $28 would sponsor an ultrasound for a mom. $140 would sponsor 5 ultrasounds. I know that's a chunk of change, but many of you are very successful and very fortunate and feel compelled to step in as a member of the pro-life community and help. This is the way to do it. Using your cell phone, dial pound 250 and say the keyword baby. That's pound 250, say baby, or go to preborn.com/buck, preborn.com/BUCK, sponsored by Preborn.
Miss the show while you're on the go? Wind down your day with the Daily Review podcast. Find it on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
We've been duped, hoodwinked, conned for 50 years. The lawn care industry sold us toxins in a bag and made our yards more toxic than a bad relationship. Sunday helps you ditch the chemicals and feed your lawn the good stuff. Soybean proteins, iron, seaweed, molasses. Ingredients that get your soil giggling like an overserved mom at the block party. Sunday uses clean ingredients and real science for thicker, greener grass. Order today and get your custom Sunday yard plan for the season ahead. Sunday, for a smarter, healthier yard. Get Sunday.com.
Support for the show comes from Public, the investing platform for those who take it seriously. On Public, you can build a multi-asset portfolio of stocks, bonds, options, crypto, and now generated assets, which allow you to turn any idea into an investable index with AI. It all starts with your prompt. From renewable energy companies with high free cash flow to semiconductor suppliers growing revenue over 20% year over year, you can literally type any prompt and put the AI to work. It screens thousands of stocks, builds a one-of-a-kind index, and lets you backtest it against the S&P 500. Then you can invest in a few clicks. Generated assets are like ETFs with infinite possibilities, completely customizable and based on your thesis, not someone else's. Go to public.com/podcast and earn an uncapped 1% bonus when you transfer your portfolio. That's public.com/podcast. Paid for by Public Investing. Brokerage services by Open to the Public Investing Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services by Public Advisors LLC, SEC registered advisor. Generated assets is an interactive analysis tool. Output is for informational purposes only and is not an investment recommendation or advice. Complete disclosures available at public.com/disclosures.
Welcome back in here, Clay and Buck. We'll have some of the cuts here from that we didn't play from that impromptu press conference, if you will. Trump taking a whole range of questions outside of the White House with the chopper going in the background. Get to the chopper. And we have a bunch of you sending in all kinds of talkbacks and thoughts, and we'll take some of your calls too on where this is all going. But look, you know that I come from a background of somebody who saw things not going well, put it mildly, up close and personal in both Iraq and Afghanistan, Democrat and Republican administrations, I might add. So anytime we're talking about war, I just approach it with I don't approach it with a pessimistic view. It's very much a trust but verify situation for me, because if we're going to put our people in harm's way, if we're going to be using the military to take thousands of lives abroad, we should be asking questions and be darn sure it's the right way. I have had my moments of questioning and even some skepticism of some of what's gone on with Trump and Iran. But if this blockade, if this blockade holds of just Iran in the Strait, and so Iran is no longer using that as leverage, it becomes our greatest point of leverage against Iran. If that holds, and their economy, I would assume, is going to start to spiral, and then you add to that perhaps additional airstrikes, not clear on what they would be, I wonder how long the Iranians can hold on with that. I think that they had assumed that there may be, and again, when I say the Iranians, it is true what that caller said before. We're talking about the Iranian government, our beef, the world's beef, but America specifically, our beef with and Israel, the Iranians is with the security services, the government, the military. It's not with someone who lives in a modest house in Isfahan or something, and is just trying to go teach not Sunday school, but teach, well, maybe, but go to, teach grammar school is what I meant to say. That's not our problem. That's not our beef. We're not trying to hurt people who have had no effect on Iranian policy and in many cases want the regime gone, of course, as we know. We saw that with those protests that were out in the streets. But let's go to cut 26 here for a second. Trump is sounding very positive here on this deal and the prospect for a deal. Play 26.
Extending the ceasefire with Iran.
With who?
With Iran.
We're doing very well, I can tell you. Maybe it'll happen before that. I'm not sure it needs to be extended. Just so you know, Iran wants to make a deal, and we're dealing very nicely with them. We've got to have no nuclear weapons. If we do, that's a big factor. And they're willing to do things today that they weren't willing to do 2 months ago.
So he is straight up telling us that there is progress in the negotiations in terms of concessions the Iranians are willing to make. Now, this could all be part of the Iranian positioning, the Iranian play for time strategy. But I think that the reason Trump is out there saying this right now is because he knows, and this is what I'm seeing too, if this situation with the Strait holds, this is the pressure valve is now really one way. The issues of the Strait of Hormuz have become far more powerful for the Iranian regime than they are for us in terms of the way to either sit this out or turn up the heat, whatever it may be, or wait this out, I mean. So that's where we are with the Iran deal. We'll see if it actually ends up happening. And Trump also has said that he would go to Pakistan. This was some news that was just broken a few minutes ago. This is 27. He says he would go to Pakistan to complete a deal if one is ready to be done.
Would you ever go to Pakistan to seal the deal yourself? I would go to Pakistan, yeah. Pakistan has been great. They've been so good. Islamabad, I might go. Yeah. If the deal is signed in Islamabad, I might go. The field marshal has been great. The prime minister has been really great in Pakistan. So I might go.
And if he gets a deal, maybe Trump Tower Islamabad, but you'd know that better than anybody. It's a beautiful tower he'd build, the most beautiful. I've never been to Islamabad. I hear it's not great. But, yeah, Trump is saying that he would go himself because we would all recognize the historic nature of that kind of an agreement. And he certainly wants to be there. He understands all the implications of getting this to that point. But I am more optimistic now than I still think there's going to be an extension of the ceasefire, to be clear. But I'm more optimistic that at the end of this, Trump is going to get something closer to what he wants than I was before, because of the change about that we've been discussing today. Now the Artemis 2 crew is talking about their moon mission. I'm not a big producer Greg. I think Clay has more of the, and I mean this in a good way, the childlike wonder when it comes to space exploration and astronaut. Like, he loves all that stuff. And I am a little more like, okay, I'm glad we're doing big things again. I'm glad that we are also really in the early stages of building out true space exploration infrastructure. Now, SpaceX is a huge piece of that equation, but getting us to go on this, or getting this historic moon mission done, it's cool. And there's a lot to go. Producer Greg, do you want to come on and tell me why the Artemis 2 is he in studio right now, or am I catching him?
I'm here. I'm here.
He's not grabbing Shake Shack. All right. Producer Greg, Artemis 2, they're talking about this. Why should a salty old dog like me care that much about this mission? Sell me on this thing.
It's about the human exploration and what we can achieve, the technology and the whole thing coming together, what it takes to produce something like this. I mean, a rocket like that going to the moon is probably the most sophisticated piece of machinery with so many different working parts at every one time, with so many points of failure that could happen. And the fact that they're able to get it to go together and to go to the moon, in this case around the moon, and then hopefully in a few more years actually land on the moon again, just stretches us as people, as human, as Americans, and to show that we can do it, as regain some of the pride that we lost.
So here's okay, Producer Greg, you're doing. I mean, I'm hoping NASA doesn't snatch you up to do comms for them, because you're doing an excellent job explaining, as I said, the childlike wonder that so many have about it. But here's my thing: we've already been to the moon. We did this. So isn't this a little bit like the second person to summit Mount Everest? Like, the first person, it's, oh my gosh. The second person, it's, okay, that was hard, but didn't we already get there? Like, well, help me with that.
Okay, real quick. Who was the first person to walk on the moon? Neil Armstrong. Who was the second?
I don't know.
Buzz Aldrin. You don't.
There we go.
You've heard his name, though, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Of course.
So
I'm not like an astronaut hater. I'm just not as I don't get as fired up about this.
Here's my point. That just because this is the second time we're going just because Buzz Aldrin was the second person to step foot on the moon doesn't make the accomplishment any less important or less significant. And two more things. this is a first step to get back to get to Mars. In order to do this, to get to Mars, what Elon wants to do, what Trump wants to do, what we need to be doing as a human species to expand ourselves beyond Earth, to stretch our knowledge and our boundaries. Getting to the moon is the first step because the gravity is lighter, the opportunities for mining some of the materials we need, water and other things. It's a better place to launch from than Earth. So that's the next thing. So this is all a stepping stone to get onto Mars and beyond, to expand ourselves into the 22nd century and beyond.
That was really good, Producer Greg. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm quite sold on the prospect of this being very exciting to people. Thank you so much for that. So there you go. See, when you have, it's a little like a Scully and Mulder situation, you know. If you got a little bit of a skeptic about that, you got to bring in the believer. And Greg is a believer. And in this one, I was really just being honest with him. I wasn't pretending like when I pretend to hate hockey just to get him and producer Mark all fired up at me, because then they want to throw me into the boards and pull my jersey over my head. But yes, this was a big step for mankind, I suppose, even though we've taken the similar step before. So that's interesting to me. I still think, and thank you, Greg. That was great. I still think that, it would be really interesting for Clay and I to get down to SpaceX, and I'd like to find a way to work that out. We got to reach out to Elon's team and see, because I have heard from people who have been down there. You know, I saw, I went and actually met with the Secretary of War and saw some of his team, as you guys know, at Cape Canaveral, and saw the NASA facility there and the rocket. And I actually saw this rocket. I actually went and saw the rocket. That's right. All right. I'm pretty sure that was the one that I saw. It was about to be the one that they used. I have a photo of me standing in front of the Artemis 2. I should have put that together before this. So yes, I've been there. The Blue Origin facility was pretty cool, but you know, I want to see the SpaceX facility. SpaceX, they're like the bad boys of space exploration. Like, they're just going for it. They're doing really cool stuff. So I'm going to go check that out. And, that will be something that we'll put on the radar here for the show. I think we'll have to put that ahead of, the Greenland show, which now we don't hear about. Whatever happened to Greenland? Greenland was going to be ours, and now it's not. So sad. I thought we'd be able to go and check that out. I'm going to close out here with some calls, some thoughts from all of you. If you want to talk space programs, if you want to either, reiterate, I think most of you are probably on producer Greg's wavelength that this is amazing, this is incredible. And I do think space exploration is about to do incredible things, or becoming more amazing as we go along here. And I think Elon is going to get us to Mars. We are going to become multiplanetary in our lifetime. I do believe that. And we have visionaries like Elon Musk who are just doing things that are truly amazing. So that's all very, very cool. I'm sure a lot of you feel that way about this, but to me, they're like, we're going to get back to the moon. I was kind of like, well, we've been to the moon, right? But, you know, still a big deal. Still very, very important. All right. If you're following news out of the Middle East, you know there are Israeli citizens who are suffering from incoming missile attacks from Hezbollah. That's still going on. And yes, the Iron Dome is highly effective, but there are still residents that have to scurry to bomb shelters, and some are injured or even killed by these continuous attacks. The International Fellowship of Christians and Jews are one organization paying attention to those people who are in need. Using the donations of charitable Christians here in the U.S., the IFCJ puts their efforts and resources to work. This is not the type of organization that takes months or even weeks to decide how to help. They get after it daily, providing solutions and care where needed. It's selfless work with excellent results, and your donations fund these life-changing efforts. Give $45 right now to rush life-saving essentials to the vulnerable under fire. Call 888-488-IFCJ. That's 888-488-IFCJ, or go online to ifcj.org. That's ifcj.org.
Miss the show while you're on the go? Wind down your day with the Daily Review podcast. Find it on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcast.
We've been duped, hoodwinked, conned for 50 years. The lawn care industry sold us toxins in a bag and made our yards more toxic than a bad relationship. Sunday helps you ditch the chemicals and feed your lawn the good stuff. Soybean proteins, iron, seaweed, molasses. Ingredients that get your soil giggling like an overserved mom at the block party. Sunday uses clean ingredients in real science for thicker, greener grass. Order today and get your custom Sunday yard plan for the season ahead. Sunday, for a smarter, healthier yard. GetSunday.com.
This is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed Human.